She's on the top of a hill, right up at the front, behind the guide, and we're all following. She gets thrown off. That horse goes crazy and runs for its life. All we know is she's fallen, and we hear a shout. Then the kangaroo bolts and comes straight into my horse. My horse goes crazy. I stay on it. He turns around and bolts down on this mountainous forest region. And suddenly this branch comes right across my chest, hits me like this. I get thrown off my horse like that. My legs are still in the stirrup stuck. I'm dragged on the ground. Supernaturally, my shoe, I don't know how it came off, but it came off. I got freed and I was on the ground. My horse runs. The horse runs straight into my other two daughters' horses. And my wife is at the back. My wife was on the last horse, and somehow God had prepared her for this day. In the middle of the forest, she shouted out, "Jesus!" You know what happened? My horse that was running crazy, in a split second, stood still shivering. Both the kids' horses and my wife's horse stood still. They were beginning to bolt, okay? Stood still, shivering. Later on, we came to know that the property and that school was owned by the biggest witch in town. And the Lord told me the next day, because we're hard-headed, like we learned it from you. So we said we're going to ride again the next day. And then the Lord told me, this is the thing, don't go. And I later on got proofs that God gave me about the thing. But I want to tell you, who cares? Whose property it is all belongs to the Lord. And His name is above every name in heaven, in earth, under the earth. And it saves. And we found my youngest daughter. It was like somebody picked her up off the horse and kept her safe in a little slot. And she has no clue how she got there. Now let me show you something. Go to Matthew 27:50. It says, Jesus, can you read it with me? Jesus, when He had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. Listen to me. I know there is a young boy and his young people, or sometime in your life, you might have gone through the stations of the cross. It's all fine. But I'm going to bring you to a main station, which seems to have been missed. Is that fine? Say, when Jesus had cried again. Say, when Jesus had cried again. Just before this, if you read, it says, He said, Father, why have you forsaken me? He's on a cross, crucified. The pressures of sin and the darkness surrounding Him makes Him feel the absence of God, feels forsaken. But in that midst of the feeling of forsaken, He activates a law. It says, if the enemy oppress you in your land, cry out to me. And also call upon me, and I will show you great and mighty things that you have not seen. So in the midst where his hands are crucified, his feet are nailed, his hands cannot move, his feet cannot move, but his voice. The Bible just says he cried out again. Just say, cried out again. Say, he cried out again. Cried out again. What he cried, I don't know. Maybe he said, Father! Maybe one more time. I don't know. But the minute he activated it, something happened. Go back and read 51. It says, and behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent. And the graves were opened, and many bodies of saints which slept arose. Are you hearing me? Say, he cried again. He didn't stop at one cry. He cried again till the heavens split open. And his Father answers and shows mighty things. He's raised people from the dead before, but there were not such mass resurrections. Say, works. Say, works. It works. It'll always work. If you work for Jesus, it's going to work for you. And the great news is he says, greater things than this will you do. Some believers in this house? I'm sure you can do better than that. We're talking about crying out. We're talking about crying out. Silence is for those who are going to the grave. And those who are dead is where silence exists. But there is a cry that tears the heavens open. Not an empty cry or a deaf sound, but there is a cry that will rip the heavens open. I like my Father. It's like, just imagine Jesus on the cross, crucified, dying, cries out, and God says, you know what, son? I don't care if all the religion, all the tradition, all the ceremony of the world, but because you cry, I'll rip the curtain out, and I'm not going to remain in a box. I'm coming out to shake the earth. And because you cried to me, my son, I'm going to put as an open display for the devil and every demon to see. I'll open the graves and raise the people up. They stay there just to show the devil, if I can do this, I'm going to do it for you. Let him try to stop it.